June 6, 1944. The rolling hills of southern England, shrouded in the pre-dawn mist of Operation Overlord's Eve. You can almost feel the damp chill seeping through the canvas tents clustered around the muddy fields near Dover. The air hangs heavy with the scent of wet earth and machine oil, punctuated by the low rumble of generators humming like distant thunder. In the dim glow of hurricane lanterns, a team of British engineers from the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, Ghost Army, they call themselves in whispers, huddles over a peculiar cargo. Rubber and canvas, deflated like forgotten party balloons. But these are no toys. They're tanks, artillery pieces, trucks, ghosts in the making. Sergeant Alex Morrison, a lanky New Yorker with grease-streaked hands and a perpetual squint from long nights in the workshop, kneels beside one of the bundles. His breath fogs in the cold as he unfolds the massive form, a simulated M4 Sherman tank, its inflatable frame sprawling out like a beached whale. "Easy now, lads," he mutters to his crew, Private Eddie Klein and Corporal Tom Riley. Klein, the wiry kid from Brooklyn with a knack for bellowing through megaphones to mimic troop movements, chuckles nervously. "This thing's gonna fool Jerry from a mile away? Looks like a kid's drawing come to life." Morrison shoots him a glare, his calloused fingers working the bellows pump. Whoosh, air rushes in, the rubber expanding with a soft, eerie sigh. The tank's silhouette rises, its fake treads painted in hasty camouflage greens and browns, rivets sketched on with bold strokes. They add wooden struts for rigidity, wire mesh for the barrel, even canvas flaps that rustle like real armor plating in the breeze. By the time the first hints of grey light pierce the horizon, the field boasts a dozen of these phantoms, lined up as if a mechanized division is massing for invasion. But this is no ordinary army. High Command has bigger plans. Across the Channel, in the shadowed bunkers of Pas-de-Calais, the German High Command pores over maps, convinced the main Allied thrust will come here, straight at their Atlantic Wall's strongest fortifications. And to sell that lie, General George S. Patton, old blood and guts himself, has been handed the reins of this rubber phantom brigade. Not that he's thrilled about it. Patton, the firebrand who slapped soldiers in Sicily and charged across North Africa like a cavalryman from another era, chafes at the deception game. "God damn it, we're soldiers, not actors," he'd growled in a briefing tent weeks earlier, his pearl-handled revolvers glinting under the lights. Flashback to that sweltering May afternoon in a requisitioned manor house near London. The room reeks of cigar smoke and polished leather. Patton paces like a caged panther, his tunic straining over his barrel chest, jodhpurs tucked into gleaming boots that click against the oak floorboards. Across the table sits General Omar Bradley, his face etched with the weight of command, and a cluster of deception specialists from MI5, slick types with Oxford accents and dossiers thicker than a Bible. "George," Bradley says, voice steady as he taps a pointer at the map, "this is fortitude, the biggest bluff of the war. We make 'em think 1st U.S. Army Group is here, under you, poised to hit Calais. Dummy ships in the Thames, fake radio traffic, and these," he gestures to blueprints of the inflatables, "your army of ghosts." Patton snorts, halting to jab a finger at the sketches. "Inflatable tanks? I'll lead 'em into battle myself if it means drawing those Krautpanzers away from Normandy, but if this works, Monty owes me a case of scotch." The room chuckles uneasily. But Patton's eyes burn with that trademark intensity. He's no stranger to audacity. His dash from Morocco to Tunisia was legend. But this, commanding an army that doesn't exist, it's theatre, and Patton plays to win. Back in the Dover fields as dawn breaks, the Ghost Army crew finishes their work. The inflatable tanks sway gently, secured by guy wires to stakes hammered into the soft soil. Nearby, sound trucks idle, their speakers ready to blast the clatter of tank tracks and troop chatter, recorded from real maneuvers and looped endlessly. Klein climbs into one, flipping switches. The illusion begins. A mechanical growl echoes across the downs, gravel crunching under invisible treads, orders barked in clipped American English. "Move out, 3rd Platoon! Keep it tight!" From the tree line, a spotter plane buzzes low, a friendly RAF Mosquito on a calibration run. But in the German mind, it's the eyes in the sky that will sell it. Oberleutnant Karl Becker, a Luftwaffe reconnaissance pilot stationed at an airfield in occupied France, has no idea yet. But soon his FW-189 Uhu will drone over the channel, its cameras clicking away at what looks like the real deal. Patton's Phantom First Army Group swelling by the day. Morrison steps back, wiping sweat from his brow despite the chill. The first rays of sun glint off the fake tank's painted hull, casting long shadows that blend with the real hedgerows. You can sense the tension coiling like a spring wound tight. This is the eve of D-Day, and every decoy here is a life preserver for the boys hitting Normandy's beaches at H-hour. But the real test comes from the air. If the Germans buy it, if those photos convince Hitler that Patton's the spearhead, then the deception holds. Hours later, as the team disperses to camouflage the site with netting that mimics bombed-out villages, a staff car rumbles up the lane. Out steps Patton himself, flanked by aides clutching briefcases of orders. He surveys the field, hands on hips, his scowl deepening as he kicks at an inflatable half-track. By God, it looks the part. But remember, men, this ain't playtime. Those sons of bitches across the water need to believe every rivet. His voice booms, carrying over the wind, and the crew snaps to attention, hearts pounding. Patton's presence alone is a weapon. Rumors of his command have already leaked through double agents, feeding the German paranoia. As he strides among the dummies, inspecting a faux 105mm howitzer with its bellows-fed barrel, you feel the weight of history pressing down. The war machine grinds on, from the factories of Detroit to the deception fields of England. Patton pauses, gazing eastward toward the sea, where the real invasion fleet masses in secret. "Tomorrow," he mutters to no one, "we dance with the devil." The mist lifts, revealing more ghosts rising. Jeeps, ambulances, even a cluster of inflatable landing craft bobbing in a nearby pond. The stage is set, the actors in place, and high above, unseen, the reconnaissance flights circle closer. By midday, the first reports filter back through channels. A captured German radio intercept crackles in a listening post. Unusual activity near Folkestone, heavy armor concentrations. The bluff is taking root, but doubts linger. What if a sharp-eyed pilot spots the seams? What if the wind tears one down? Morrison and his team hunker in their tent, cards in hand to pass the time. But their eyes dart to the sky. The inflatable army stands sentinel, silent and swelling, waiting for the proof in the photographs that will make it real, or unravel the greatest ruse of the war. June 6, 1944. The English Channel, a slate-grey expanse churned by wind-whipped waves under a sky heavy with overcast clouds. Oberleutnant Karl Becker grips the control yoke of his FW-189 Uhu, the twin-boom reconnaissance aircraft slicing through the turbulent air at 12,000 feet. The cockpit vibrates with the steady drone of the twin Jumo engines, their propellers chewing the mist like hungry beasts. Becker, a veteran of the Eastern Front, with a scarred cheek from a Soviet flakburst, squints through the humid glare of his canopy. His leather flight jacket creaks as he adjusts the trim, the oxygen mask fogging slightly with each measured breath. Below, the whitecaps of the channel blur into a frothy haze, but his mind is fixed eastward, on the orders crackling from Abwehr headquarters in Paris. Intensify patrols over southern England. Report all concentrations of Allied armor and shipping. Patton's forces suspected massing for Calais thrust. Beside him in the navigator's seat, Feldwebel Hans Gruber hunches over the drift site, his gloved fingers tracing grid lines on a crumpled map. The radio operator, Lieutenant Fritz Lang, taps out position reports on the Enigma-linked set, the Morse code beeping like a frantic heartbeat. "Fuel at 80%, Herr Oberleutnant," Gruber announces, voice muffled by his mask. "We cross the coast in 5, visibility marginal, those damn English clouds." Becker nods, his eyes scanning the horizon where the faint outline of Dover's cliffs emerges, jagged teeth against the sea. He's flown this route a dozen times since spring, dodging Spitfires and charting the build-up. Bogus radio nets buzzing with fake orders, decoy convoys snaking along the Thames. But today feels different. Intelligence whispers of a storm brewing. D-Day, they call it in hushed tones at the airfield mess. Hitler himself has fixated on Patton, the American bulldog, convinced his aggressive style means a hammer blow at Pas-de-Calais, not the softer beaches of Normandy. If Patton commands, the Führer ranted in a briefing relayed to Becker's squadron, the invasion comes here, double the photo runs. The Uhu banks left, engines whining as it climbs to evade a squall. Turbulence jolts them, coffee sloshing from a thermos in the cramped rear. Lang curses softly, wiping his instruments. Becker levels out, the altimeter steadying at 15,000 feet. Now the English coast fills the windscreen, green fields scarred by anti-aircraft pits, hedgerows twisting like veins. He eases the stick forward, dropping to 8,000 feet for the run. "Cameras hot," he barks. Gruber flips switches on the K-23 apparatus mounted in the belly, its glass plates ready to capture the deception below. As they skim over Kent, the first signs appear. Becker's pulse quickens. There, in a meadow near Folkestone, clusters of vehicles, tanks by the look of them, Shermans and Stuarts in mottled olive drab, their long barrels pointed seaward. Dozens, no, hundreds, arrayed in assembly areas that stretch toward the horizon. Trucks, laden with ammo crates, rumble along dirt tracks, dust clouds billowing like smoke signals. He can almost hear the grind of treads, the shouts of GIs in steel helmets. "Mark it," Becker says, voice tight. Gruber notches the camera trigger, the shutter clicking in rhythmic bursts, rat-a-tat-tat, as the Uhu drones low, wings clipping the tops of oaks. But it's not just the ground show. Offshore, in the sheltered coves, dummy landing craft bob on buoys, plywood hulls painted battleship grey, ramps down as if disgorging troops. Becker circles wider, the aircraft's shadow racing across the water. Sound effects boom up faintly, recorded clamour from hidden speakers, the roar of engines and barked commands. "Load up, first wave, mount those Higgins boats." It's eerie, this symphony of war from nowhere, designed to echo across the channel to German listening posts. Gruber leans forward, binoculars pressed to his eyes. "Incredible, Herr Oberleutnant. That's Patton's First Army Group, no doubt. Look at the insignia on those half-tracks, stars and stripes bold as brass." Becker glances down, spotting the painted divisions, fake patches for the 3rd Armoured, 4th Infantry, all under the phantom banner of Fusag. His mind races. Patton, the tank terror who routed Rommel in Tunisia, now poised here with 50 divisions, or so the double agents claim. If true, Calais falls in days. Normandy's just a feint. The Uhu presses on, weaving through flak bursts, black puffs blooming like deadly flowers from coastal batteries. A shell whistles close, rocking the airframe, but Becker holds steady, sweat beading under his goggles. They photograph it all. Inflatable artillery parks near Ashford, where howitzers with canvas barrels stand sentinel. Sound trucks disguised as command vehicles, their antennas swaying, even mock hospitals with Red Cross flags fluttering over tent cities. One field catches Becker's eye, a vast encampment of pup tents and jeeps, soldiers milling about in fatigues, cigarettes glowing like fireflies. Are they real? The photos will tell. Lang's radio crackles. Coastal Command vectoring fighters. Evasive course now. Becker yanks the yoke, the Uhu's booms flexing as it dives and climbs, engines screaming. Tracers streak past, but they break free, heading back across the channel. Gruber stows the plates, sealing them in lead-lined canisters. "We got it all," he says, exhaling. "Enough to convince the general staff. Patton's army is real, swelling like a tide." Back at the airfield near Calais, tires screech as the Uhu touches down on the pockmarked runway, grease monkeys swarming with chocks. Becker climbs out, legs numb, lighting a cigarette with shaking hands. The developing hut buzzes already. Prince will rush to Berlin by nightfall. In the ops tent, Colonel Erich von Sturm, his squadron commander, pores over preliminary sketches radioed ahead. "Excellent work, Becker. These show armor concentrations the likes of which we haven't seen since the Blitzkrieg. If Patton leads, the Allies commit everything here." Becker nods, but a nagging doubt flickers. The tanks seemed off, their outlines too uniform in the haze. Wind had rippled across one field, making shadows dance unnaturally. He shakes it off. Fatigue, probably. The photos are sharp. Treads etched in mud, barrels glinting, troops in formation. By evening, as couriers speed the images to OKW headquarters, the deception solidifies. Field Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt stares at the glossies in his Pas-de-Calais command post, mustache twitching. Patton's ghosts. "No, these are flesh and steel. Reserve the 15th Army here. Let Normandy bleed." Across the channel in the Dover mist, Sergeant Morrison hears the faint drone fading westward. His team packs gear under camouflage nets, hearts hammering. The first proof is in the air, winging toward Hitler, but as night falls, more flights circle. Luftwaffe, eyes unblinking. The inflatable army holds its breath, wires taut against the gathering gale. Patton, briefed in a smoky London war room, slaps the table. "Those krauts swallowed it hook, line and sinker. Now we keep feeding the beast." The ruse deepens, divisions arriving by truck under cover of dark, each decoy a thread in the web. Yet Becker, nursing a schnapps in the officers' mess, pores over a smudged print. Something's not right. A seam, perhaps. He dismisses it, toasting to victory. The photographs lie convincingly, but truth has a way of piercing illusions, one frame at a time. June 7th, 1944. A cramped operations bunker beneath the chalk cliffs of Dover, where the salt-tanged air seeps through ventilation slits like an unwelcome intruder. You can taste the tension in the dim-lit room, thick as the cigarette haze, curling from ashtrays overflowing with dog ends. Flickering bulbs cast jagged shadows across the walls, papered in topographic maps, pins marking phantom divisions that shift like smoke. Colonel Billy Harris, the wiry deception expert with a mustache trimmed like a razor and eyes sharp as shrapnel, leans over a trestle table strewn with fresh intelligence dispatches. His fingers drum on a stack of intercepted Luftwaffe signals, the paper crinkling under his touch. "They bought it," he says, voice low and gravelly, passing a glossy print to Major Ralph Ingersoll, the OSS liaison, whose Ivy League polish hides a gambler's nerve. Becker's run, straight to von Rundstedt's desk. 15th Army's digging in at Calais, not a panzer shifting west. Ingersoll adjusts his spectacles, peering at the image. A grainy spread of inflatable Shermans clustered in a faux lager, their canvas hulls taut against guide ropes, painted exhaust pipes belching illusory smoke from hidden bellows. From 8,000 feet, it looks ironclad, treads churning mud, crews in olive drab milling like ants. But up close, in the pre-dawn chill of the previous day, Sergeant Alex Morrison had sweated over those details, his team rigging sonic deception units to mimic the whine of idling engines. Now, the payoff. German reserves frozen, 150,000 troops leashed to the wrong coast, while real landing craft sliced toward Omaha and Utah under Eisenhower's iron gaze. Across the bunker, Private Eddie Klein fiddles with a reel-to-reel recorder, splicing tapes of troop movements recorded from actual maneuvers in Devon. The machine whirs softly, capturing the clatter of boot heels on gravel, the distant thunder of 50-caliber machine guns test firing. "Boss," Klein calls to Morrison, who's nursing black coffee from a dented mug. "We got fresh orders from London." Ramp up the radio chatter, make it sound like Patton's itching for a scrap at dawn. Morrison nods, rubbing stubble-shadowed jaws, the weight of the bluff pressing on his shoulders like wet wool. He's no actor, just a mechanic from Queens who enlisted to build tanks, not blow-up dolls. Yet here he is, scripting the greatest stage show since Shakespeare, with Hitler's horde as the unwitting audience. Outside, the wind howls off the channel, whipping canvas covers over the decoy fields. The inflatable army has grown overnight. 24 more phantoms erected under blackout conditions, their forms swelling like leviathans from deflated bundles hauled by requisitioned farm tractors. Corporal Tom Riley, the Irish brawler, with fists like hams and a brogue thick as peat, pumps air into a simulated M7 Priest self-propelled gun, its rubber barrel flexing with each heave. "These bastards better hold," he grunts, securing struts with hemp rope that bites into his palms. Rain spatters the meadow, turning the earth to slurry that clings to their boots, but they work on. Flashlights hooded against patrols. By false dawn, the site pulses with life. Sound trucks broadcasting coded traffic. FUSAG HQ to 1st Armored. Advance to grid Echo 7. Prepare bridging gear. Patton out. Patton himself isn't far. Holed up in a commandeered seaside villa 10 miles east, where the crash of waves against pebble beaches drowns out the generators. General George S. Patton, Jr. stands at a bay window, ivory-handled Colt .45s holstered at his hips, staring into the roiling sea as if willing the horizon to yield secrets. His aides, Captains Hale and Meeks, hover nearby, one pouring bourbon into a tumbler, the other updating a situation board with colored chalk. "Those reconnaissance snaps sealed it, General," Hale ventures, voice deferential. "Abwehr's buzzing. Double agents report the Führer's convinced you're the tip of the spear." Patton turns, his face a thundercloud under the brim of his helmet liner, eyes like polished agates. "Convinced? Hell, they better be terrified. I've got 500,000 ghosts marching under my banner, and not one drop of blood spilled yet." He strides to the map table, boots thudding on threadbare rugs that smell of salt and mildew. A scale model of the Pas-de-Calais coast sprawls there, tiny flags denoting real and fake positions. FUSAG's spectral divisions overlapping Bradley's actual forces in Normandy, now bloodied but holding. Patton jabs a riding crop at a cluster near Boulogne. "Keep the inflatables shifting. Dawn patrols tomorrow. If Becker's boys fly again, give 'em a show. Tanks rolling east, troops double-timing to the docks." Meeks nods, scribbling notes, but Patton's mind races ahead, replaying the briefing with Monty the day before. The British Field Marshal, pipe clenched in teeth yellowed by nicotine, had clapped him on the back. "George, your rubber circus is worth 3 divisions. Keep Rommel guessing." Meanwhile, across the channel in a fog-shrouded chateau outside Abbeville, Oberleutnant Karl Becker pores over the developed plates in a lamplit war room, the air heavy with the tang of photographic chemicals and stale sauerkraut. His scarred cheek twitches as he traces the images with a pencil, marking vectors for follow-up strikes. Feldwebel Hans Gruber hovers, coffee mug steaming, while Colonel Erich von Sturm paces, his iron cross glinting under the bare bulb. "These concentrations, Patton's fingerprint all over," Sturm declares, tapping a print of dummy landing craft massed in a tidal basin, their plywood ramps angled like jaws. "FUSAG's armor parks rival El Alamein. The Americans mean business here." Becker hesitates, zooming in on one frame. A half-track's outline shimmers oddly, as if caught in a breeze that flattens distant trees. "Herr Colonel, the scale seems exaggerated. No shipping in the roads and those fields, too pristine for heavy traffic." Sturm waves it off, moustache bristling. Illusions of war, Becker. Double agents confirm it. Patton's ranting about Calais in leaked cables. Hitler demands we hold the 15th Army. No diversions to Normandy. The room nods, resolve hardening like mortar. Outside, panzers rev in revetments, their Maybach engines growling defiance, while V-1 sights hum with activity, buzz bombs primed for English skies. Back in England, as midday sun pierces the clouds, the ghost army evolves the ruse. Morrison's crew deploys a new wrinkle. Flashbang pyrotechnics to simulate artillery drills, popping like fireworks across the downs. Klein mans a megaphone from a foxhole, his Brooklyn twang booming, "Fire mission! Adjust 3 degrees right, salvo away." Shells whistle, actually signal flares, bursting in white phosphorus blooms that paint the sky. From afar, it's a symphony of steel. Up close, Riley chuckles, wiping soot from his face. Jerry's gonna crap his pants when these pics hit Berlin. Patton, briefed via secure line from the bunker, slams a fist on his desk, rattling inkwells. "By God, it's working, but don't let up. Those photos are our shield for the beachheads." Reports trickle in. Normandy's paratroopers digging in, Gold Beach secured, but Omaha a slaughter. Every decoy here buys time, drawing eyes eastward. As evening falls, Becker's squadron preps for another run, the Uhu's engines warming with a throaty roar. The inflatable army braces, wires creaking in the gusts, its illusions deepening like roots in fertile soil. Doubt flickers in Becker's gut as he straps in, but duty propels him skyward. The photographs bind the lie tighter, thread by thread, while across the water, real blood soaks the sands. The dance continues, phantoms leading the charge, June 8, 1944. The wind-swept bluffs overlooking the Strait of Dover, where gulls wheel against a bruised sky heavy with the promise of rain. You can hear the relentless crash of waves far below, pounding the chalk cliffs like artillery fire, while the salt spray mists your face, even from this height. Sergeant Alex Morrison crouches behind a weathered stone wall, binoculars pressed to his eyes, the cold metal biting into his skin. His breath comes in shallow puffs, mingling with the damp air that carries the faint, acrid tang of diesel from hidden generators. Below, in the camouflaged valley, the inflatable army stirs under the crew's watchful hands, canvas behemoths shifting positions in a choreographed ballet of deception, towed by lowboy trailers disguised as hay wagons. Private Eddie Klein wipes rain from his brow, his fingers slick on the guy wires as he adjusts a simulated M10 tank destroyer, its rubber turret swiveling with a soft creak. "Keep her steady, Eddie," Morrison whispers, voice taut as a bowstring. "That Luftwaffe bird could swing back any minute." The ruse has deepened overnight, the Ghost Army's engineers weaving a tapestry of illusion that stretches for miles. New arrivals, inflatable barrage balloons tethered to mock anti-aircraft batteries, their silk envelopes bloating with helium that hisses like escaping steam. Corporal Tom Riley hammers stakes into the sodden earth. His hammer blows muffled by the gale, each strike echoing the heartbeat of the operation. Sound units thrum to life, broadcasting the metallic grind of tank columns on the move. Recordings layered with the shouts of phantom sergeants. "Button up! Advance to contact!" From the bluffs, it looks alive, a division coiling for the kill, all under Patton's spectral command. In the command dugout carved into the cliffside, a tangle of field phones and radiators fights the chill, the air thick with the smell of wet wool and instant coffee. Major Ralph Ingersoll pours over a fresh intercept, his pipe smoke curling like signal flags. "Berlin's hooked," he says to Colonel Billy Harris, sliding a decoded message across the scarred pine table. Von Rundstedt's rerouting supplies, fuel dumps at Calais swollen, panzers idling instead of racing to Normandy. Harris nods, his mustache twitching as he stubs out a cigarette, the ember glowing briefly before dying in the ashtray's graveyard. But victory tastes bittersweet. Radio reports from Schaff paint a grim picture across the channel. Hedgerow hell in the bocage, GIs bogged down amid the Norman ruins. Every hour bought by these ghosts, a desperate reprieve. High command presses the pedal. Patton's voice crackles over the secure line from his villa, gravelly and unyielding. "Ramp it up, Billy. Make those photos scream invasion. I've got Monty breathing down my neck," says the 15th Army's still chained. "But we can't let the seams show." Harris relays the order, and the team scatters like shadows. Morrison leads a squad to a new site near Hythe, where they've erected a faux supply depot. Canvas trucks piled with dummy crates, stenciled 100 Femipitter shells, Fusag ordnance. Their tires painted black but filled with sawdust. Riley rigs explosive charges for a training barrage. The packets of flash powder that will bloom like real ordnance when triggered. Klein calibrates the sonic gear, his Brooklyn accent slipping into the script. "All units, this is Patton actual. Push those bridges forward. We're crossing at first light." Across the channel, in the dim confines of a Luftwaffe ops center at Le Touquet airfield, Oberleutnant Karl Becker straps into the cockpit of his FW-189 Uhu once more, the familiar scent of avgas and oiled leather grounding him amid the knot in his stomach. The engines cough to life, propellers blurring into silver discs that whip the morning mist into eddies. Feldwebel Hans Gruber checks the camera mounts, his gloved hands steady despite the doubt Becker senses in his sidelong glances. "Another run, Herr Oberleutnant?" Gruber asks, voice low over the rising wine. Becker adjusts his scarf, the wool scratching his scarred cheek. "Orders from Sturm. Confirm the build-up. Patton's ghosts are multiplying. Hitler wants proof before committing the reserves." The Uhu lifts off, wheels folding with a hydraulic sigh, climbing through layers of low cloud that smear the windscreen like ghostly fingers. At 10, Ausuzeren feet, they break into clearer air, the channel a glittering expanse below, dotted with Allied convoys that hug the coast. Real ships this time, but funneled to sell the Calais feint. Becker banks east, the airframe shuddering as they near the English shore. Eyes sharp, he mutters to Lieutenant Fritz Lang in the rear, who mans the guns, his Mauser barking at phantom threats. The coast rushes up, Dover's white cliffs stark against the green, then the fields beyond, alive with movement. Gruber's voice cuts through the drone. There, massive concentrations, grid Baker 4. Becker dives to 600 feet, the altimeter spinning, and the scene unfolds like a diorama of doom. Tanks by the score, Shermans in echelon formation, their fake 76mm guns trained on invisible foes. Half-tracks rumble, actually winches pulling decoys across the turf, kicking up clods that photograph as battle scars. Artillery limbers in neat parks, canvas barrels elevated for a phantom barrage, while troops in fatigues, mannequins stuffed with straw, load ammo from trucks. Becker's heart races. It's colossal, this phantom host, Fusag's divisions swelling to rival the Wehrmacht's finest. Cameras whir, capturing the frenzy, a convoy snaking toward Folkestone docks. Inflatable landing craft launched into a brackish estuary, ramps slamming down to disgorge wooden troops. But as the Uhu circles a secondary site near Romney Marsh, doubt creeps in like fog. One tank sways unnaturally in a gust, its outline rippling, a canvas seam catching the light. Becker squints, throttling back for a closer pass. Tracers arc up from hidden batteries, forcing him to jink, but not before the shutter snaps a frame. "Anomaly at Vector 270, he logs, voice edged. Gruber frowns at the viewfinder, shadows playing tricks perhaps, but the scale, it's Patton's style, aggressive, all in. Lang chimes in, "Radio traffic confirms, Fusag advancing to embarkation points. The Abwehr's eating it up. Evading flak that blooms black and oily, the Uhu retreats, engines straining westward. Becker levels out, mind churning. The photos will dazzle, treads etched, banners fluttering with the First Army Group's insignia, but that ripple nags, a crack in the armor. Back at Le Touquet, as ground crew swarms the tarmac, Colonel Erich von Sturm awaits in the briefing hut, maps unrolled under gooseneck lamps that buzz like angry wasps. The prints develop swiftly, chemicals stinging Becker's nostrils as he hangs them to dry. Sturm's eyes widen at the spreads. Armor parks teeming, supply lines snaking like rivers of steel. Magnificent, he breathes, pinning them to the board. Patton's committed. Calais is the anvil. Alert, OKW. No shifts from the 15th. Let the Normandy scratch fade. Becker nods but lingers over the anomalous frame, tracing the shimmer with a fingertip. Wind. Camouflage flaw. He tucks it away, reporting clean to the colonel. But the seed of suspicion roots. In Berlin, the images rocket through channels, Hitler's war room abuzz as aides project them on screens. See? Patton's fist, unleashing at Pas-de-Calais, the Führer declares, fist pounding the oak table, diverting panzers that could shatter the beachhead. Across the water in the Dover dugout, Ingersoll decodes the fallout. Reserves locked. V2 sights primed eastward. Harris slaps Morrison's back as the team regroups. Another bullseye, Sergeant. Those photos are chaining Jerry tighter than chains. Yet, as dusk falls, rain lashing the bluffs, Patton paces his villa's creaking floorboards, crop in hand. Doubts in their ranks? He growls to an aide poring over signals. Then double the show, night movements, flares at midnight. The inflatable army awakens under cover of dark, crews hauling decoys to new lagers, sonic trucks blaring the March of Legions. Morrison, soaked to the bone, pumps a final bellows, the rubber sighing into shape. You feel the strain, the illusions fraying at the edges, but holding for now. Becker in his bunk stares at the ceiling, the anomalous photo burning in his mind. The photographs prove it real, but truth whispers from the seams, waiting to tear wide. The deception pulses on, a heartbeat in the storm. June 9th, 1944. The sodden fields of Romney Marsh, where the relentless downpour turns the earth into a quagmire that sucks at your boots like greedy fingers. The air thick with the metallic bite of ozone and the muffled rumble of distant thunder. You can feel the mud caking your trousers as Sergeant Alex Morrison trudges through the gloom, his flashlight beam cutting erratic paths across the canvas sprawl of the inflatable army. Water streams from his helmet brim, pooling in the creases of his rain-slicked poncho, while the wind howls like a banshee, tugging at the guy wires that anchor the decoys against the gale. Private Eddie Klein huddles nearby, wrestling with a sodden bellows pump on a simulated M4A3 Sherman, its rubber flanks sagging under the assault, painted rivets blurring into muddy streaks. "This weather's gonna give us away!" Klein gripes, his voice barely audible over the patter as he forces air into the deflating hulk with laboured heaves. Corporal Tom Riley, cursing in Gaelic under his breath, reinforces a nearby foe 155-metre-long Tom howitzer, its canvas barrel flopping like a wet sail until he lashes it with fresh hemp. The crew's hands are raw, chafed from the ropes, but they press on. Every phantom here a fragile bulwark against the German tide crashing toward Normandy's fragile lodgment. In the heart of the marsh, under a sagging camouflage net that drips like a leaky roof, sound trucks idle with muffled generators, their speakers crackling to life at intervals. The sonic deception unit whirs, blasting layered recordings, the deep-throated growl of idling Liberty engines, the clank of idler wheels on gravel, overlaid with the sharp crack of small arms fire from a live fire exercise. Fusag elements, this is Sector Command. Hold positions, await Patton's orders. A looped voice barks through the rain, mimicking the gravelly timbre of a staff officer. Morrison pauses to listen, nodding approval. It's the rhythm that sells it, the ceaseless pulse of an army on the cusp of assault, all engineered in a Devon soundstage months ago. Deeper in the command network, A reinforced Nissen hut buried under hay bales serves as the nerve center, its corrugated iron walls weeping condensation that pools on the dirt floor. Colonel Billy Harris hunches over a battered field radio, the set's vacuum tubes glowing amber in the lantern light, while Major Ralph Ingersoll deciphers a fresh batch of Enigma decrypts, his pipe clenched between teeth that grind with fatigue. The air reeks of damp tobacco and boiled cabbage from a communal pot, steam fogging the single bulb overhead. "They're doubling down," Ingersoll says, sliding a flimsy across the table, his voice a low rasp. "Luftwaffe's scheduling 3 recon sorties today. Becker's leading the pack, von Rundstedt's still buying the build-up. Reports show the 352nd Infantry Division rerouted from Caen to Calais bunkers." Harris rubs his eyes, red-rimmed from sleepless nights, and stubs out his cigarette on the edge of a map marked with grease-pencil ghosts, Fusag's spectral core now massing 20 divisions strong, their positions shifting like quicksilver to evade scrutiny. Patton's directive arrived at dawn via courier, sealed in wax and stamped with his eagle insignia, a terse command scrawled in his slashing hand. "Escalate the spectacle. Night flares, dummy raids. Make those bastards believe I'm coming over the beach tomorrow." Harris relays it to the teams, and the marsh erupts into controlled chaos. Morrison's squad deploys flashpots along the ridgeline, magnesium charges rigged to simulate tank headlights piercing the storm, blinding bursts that will photograph as a midnight advance. Riley sets up a new wrinkle. Inflatable barrage balloons, lofted on winches, their cables humming as they rise, painted to mimic coastal defense clusters, drawing fire from any prowling Ju-88s. Klein calibrates the radio deception, piping fake traffic through a network of antennas disguised as fence posts. Patton to all units, embarkation at 0600, hit 'em hard at Cap Gris-Nez. Glory boys, let's roll. Across the channel, in the dripping cockpit of his FW-189 Uhu at Le Touquet, Oberleutnant Karl Becker fights the controls through the squall, the aircraft bucking like a wild bronco at 9 feet. Rain lashes the canopy in sheets, blurring the world into a watercolor smear, while the Jumo engines thunder against the headwinds, their cowlings slick with moisture. Feldwebel Hans Gruber grips the drift sight, his face pale under the oxygen mask, charting a course through the murk. "Visibility near zero, Herr Oberleutnant," he shouts over the roar. Gloved fingers plotting grids on a map, sodden at the edges. Lieutenant Fritz Lang in the rear monitors the radio, the Enigma set beeping urgent queries from base. "Confirm Fusag armor. Priority for OKW. Patton suspected embarkation imminent." Becker's scarred cheek itches under the damp scarf, but he presses on, the knot in his gut tightening since yesterday's anomalous frame. That ripple, canvas. He shakes it off. Orders are ironclad, Hitler's faith in the photos absolute. The Uhu punches through a cloud bank, emerging over the English coast where lightning forks illuminate the cliffs like stage lights. Becker dives to 5,000 feet, the altimeter whirring down, and the marsh sprawls below, a cauldron of activity despite the deluge. Cameras engage with a mechanical snick, capturing the frenzy. Tanks in lagers, their outlines rigid against the storm. Half-tracks ferrying supplies along muddy tracks that are actually crude paths worn by the Ghost Army. Flares pop skyward from hidden mortars, blooming orange to mimic assembly lights, while sonic booms echo the march of boots, thousands strong, or so it seems. Gruber leans into the viewfinder. Incredible, Fusag's bridging units deploying, ponton boats in the estuaries, troops double-timing under ponchos. Becker circles tighter, the Uhu's booms flexing, but a gust catches a decoy below. A inflatable jeep topples, its canvas flapping before Riley rights it with a desperate lunge. Did the camera catch it? Becker's pulse spikes. The photos show steel resolve. Divisions coiling like vipers, Patton's banner implicit in every frame. Flak erupts from coastal guns, shells bursting in wet crumps that rock the airframe, shrapnel pinging off the wings like hail. Lang traverses the 7.92 2mm guns, tracers lacing the sky, but Becker evades, climbing into the clouds with engines screaming. "We have the run," Gruber confirms, stowing the plates as they break for home. Doubt gnaws deeper now, that topple, the unnatural sway. But the bulk of the images dazzle, armor parks swollen, embarkation chaos scripted to perfection. At Le Touquet, as the Uhu slaps down on the flooded runway, ground crew in oilskin swarms, chocks thudding into puddles. Colonel Erich von Sturm awaits in the ops shack. The air fetid with wet wool and developer trays bubbling over Bunsen burners. Prints emerge steaming, Shermans in echelon, balloons lofted defiantly, flares etching night movements into daylight proof. "Patton's unleashing hell," Sturm declares, pinning them up, his voice triumphant. "No question, Calais bears the brunt. 15th Army entrenches, Normandy's a sideshow." Becker lingers, scrutinizing the anomalous strip where the jeep falters, a shadow of collapse amid the illusion. "Wind damage, perhaps," he murmurs, but Sturm claps his shoulder. "Irrelevant. The whole screams invasion. To Berlin with these." Couriers speed away, the photos fueling the Führer's frenzy, panzers locked eastward, reserves bleeding the wrong front dry. In the Dover hut, Ingersoll decodes the ripple, Becker's sorties intensifying, but the chains hold. Harris briefs Morrison via field phone, the line hissing with static. "Tighten the wires, Sergeant. One more push." Outside, the marsh weathers the storm, decoys resilient, their seams straining but unyielding. Patton in his villa with rain drumming the roof, toasts with bourbon. Those pictures are worth a core. Keep the ghosts marching. As night cloaks the coast, the ruse breathes, illusions forged in rain and resolve, the photographs weaving the final threads of the grand deceit. Yet in Becker's quarters the doubt festers, a single frame, whispering, unraveling. The inflatable army endures, but the storm tests its core. One gust from revelation. June 10th, 1944. The storm-lashed expanse of Romney Marsh, where the rain has relented to a sullen drizzle, leaving the ground a treacherous mire that squelches underfoot like a living thing, the air heavy with the earthy reek of soaked peat and the faint, oily tang of canvas drying in fitful gusts. You can sense the exhaustion etched into every line of Sergeant Alex Morrison's face as he slogs through the muck, his boots sinking to the ankles with each step, the weight of his toolkit dragging at his shoulder like an anchor. The inflatable army stands defiant amid the desolation. Shermans and half-tracks swollen taut against reinforced guy wires that creak like ship rigging in the dying wind, their painted hulls streaked with mud that mimics battle grime. Private Eddie Klein kneels beside a sagging M7 priest, his fingers numb as he patches a tear with a hasty square of rubber and glue, the adhesive's chemical bite stinging his nostrils. "One more day, Eddie," Morrison mutters, his voice hoarse from shouting orders through the night, as he tightens a strut on a nearby faux 105mm howitzer, its canvas barrel rigid now, pointing seaward like an accusatory finger. Corporal Tom Riley hauls a fresh bundle from a concealed ditch, the deflated form slapping wetly against his poncho, ready to birth another ghost in the perpetual motion of the ruse. Overhead, the sky hangs low and leaden, clouds scudding like smoke from a dying fire, but the calm is deceptive, a fragile truce after the gale's fury. Sound trucks hum intermittently, their generators chugging diesel that fumes in oily plumes, broadcasting the ceaseless drone of phantom logistics. The whine of truck engines straining uphill, the metallic clatter of crate stacks shifting, overlaid with clipped radio chatter. "Fusag logistics to base," Ammo convoy en route to embarkation. ETA 0400. Patton's orders, no delays. It's a symphony of simulation, looped and layered to echo across the channel, feeding the German paranoia one note at a time. In the sodden Nissen hut that serves as forward command, the air clings damp and close, lanterns flickering shadows across walls beaded with moisture, the scent of mildew warring with the sharp aroma of fresh brewed tea from a dented billy can. Colonel Billy Harris pores over a sheaf of decrypts, his moustache drooping like wilted grass, while Major Ralph Ingersoll adjusts the dials on a humming receiver, static crackling like distant gunfire. "Becker's up again. Third run in 2 days, Ingersoll says, his voice edged with steel, passing a signal flimsy that smells of ink and urgency. They're probing harder, but the photos from yesterday locked it. 15th Army's panzers are bolted to Calais pillboxes, not a single tiger shifting west. Normandy's lodgment holds. Omaha's pushing inland thanks to these bastards." Harris nods, tracing a grease pencil line on the map where Fusag's illusions overlap the real front. Divisions reinforcing with nightly migrations of decoys towed by blackout-dimmed tractors. Patton's latest missive, delivered by motorcycle courier at first light, lies open on the table, scrawled in furious script on 1st Army Group letterhead. "Sustain the pressure. Dawn movements, pyrotechnic barrages at dusk. Those recon birds must see an army poised to pounce. GS." Harris folds it away, barking into the field phone. "Morrison, stage the advance. Tanks to the ridgeline. Flares on my mark." The line hisses back affirmation and the marsh stirs. Crews winch decoys forward, their forms gliding silently over the turf, while Klein ignites signal pots that bloom red and gold, simulating exhaust flares from a column on the march. Far across the slate-grey channel, in the wind-battered cockpit of his FW-189 Uhu, lifting from Le Touquet's sodden runway, Oberleutnant Carl Becker battles the controls. The aircraft's wings slick with runoff as it claws for altitude. The Jumo engines bellow against the headwind, propellers thrashing mist into veils, while the cabin reeks of wet leather and the acrid bite of fear sweat under his flight suit. Feldwebel Hans Gruber hunches over the maps, his gloved hands trembling slightly as he plots the vector, the pencil leads snapping under pressure. "Final confirmation run, Herr Oberleutnant," Gruber says, voice strained over the thunder. "Sturm says these plates go straight to the Wolf's lair, Hitler's demanding irrefutable proof before any redeployments." Lieutenant Fritz Lang in the rear loads fresh film into the K-23, the mechanism clicking like a loaded chamber, his eyes darting to the guns as if expecting Spitfires from the Merc. Becker's scarred cheek throbs with the altitude's bite, but it's the doubt that gnaws deeper now, that anomalous frame from the storm, the toppled jeep, the ripple in the tank's flank, replaying in his mind like a jammed projector. The Führer's obsession with Patton fuels it all. Briefings in Berlin echo with rants about the Americans' audacity, the inflatable army's proof, chaining reserves that could crush the Norman bridgehead. "If it's real," Hitler had decreed via relay, "Calais crumbles, no risks elsewhere." Becker levels out at 12,000 feet, the English coast emerging through thinning clouds like a verdant trap, and dives for the marsh, cameras priming with a whir. The scene below assaults his senses, a colossal host in motion, Shermans cresting the ridgeline in echelon, their barrels glinting under sporadic sun, half-tracks churning mud plumes that rise like smoke signals. Flares arc skyward, etching golden trails that scream embarkation frenzy, while sonic waves crash up, the grind of treads, the bellow of orders. "Fusag, advance elements, bridge the estuary, prepare assault waves." Gruber snaps frames furiously, the shutters rat-a-tat drowning the engines momentarily. Patton's masterstroke. He breathes, binoculars fogging. Armors tripled overnight, landing craft massing in the inlets, troops under canvas. Becker circles low, the Uhu's shadow racing over the deception, capturing inflatable artillery in fire positions, barrage balloons straining upward like sentinels, supply dumps teeming with crates that photograph as ordnance mountains. But the anomaly strikes again. A gust lifts a decoy's edge mid-pass, canvas fluttering like a flag of surrender before Morrison's team hauls it taut. Becker's stomach lurches. The camera catches it, a fleeting shimmer amid the steel illusion. "Mark that sector," he barks, voice cracking, throttling for a second sweep, despite flak blooming black and vicious around them. Shells whistle close, one grazing the tail with a metallic screech, but he holds, the plates filling with the grand lie. Fusag's phantom legions, Patton's fist clenched for the hammer blow at Pas de Calais. Breaking free in a climbing spiral, engines gasping, Becker's hands shake on the yoke. "It's too perfect," he mutters to Gruber, who stows the canisters with grim efficiency. Lang reports evasive success, but the doubt festers, a poison in the blood. At Le Touquet, the Uhu slams down amid standing water, tires hydroplaning before chocks bite. Colonel Erich von Sturm seizes the prince in the ops hut. The developer trays steaming under harsh lights, the air thick with chemicals and triumph. Images spread across the table, tanks surging, flares blazing, the marsh a hive of invasion. "Undeniable!" Sturm roars, fist pounding. "Patton's real, reserves stay put." Normandy withers, the plates courier to Berlin, where aides rush them to Hitler, the Führer crowing over projections. "See the proof! The inflatable army? No, Patton's steel horde. Hold the 15th. In the Dover command chain, the decrypts confirm it. Chains unbreakable, panzers idling as Allied armor claws inland from Sword and Juno. Harris gathers the team in the hut, rain drumming the roof like applause. "We did it, lads. Those photos sealed the beast." Morrison slumps against a crate, wiping mud from his hands, a weary grin cracking his face as Klein cracks a flask of pilfered scotch. Riley toasts silently, the inflatable army's final shift complete, decoy bridges spanning dry channels, ghosts marching into history. Patton, in his villa with the sea calming beyond the panes, receives the wire and laughs, a bark like cannon fire. "By God, the ruse holds. Those krauts chased shadows while we took the beach." Across the channel, Becker stares at the anomalous frame in his quarters, the flutter damming now, canvas, not steel. He burns it in an ashtray, duty silencing suspicion, but the seed sprouts. Too late. The illusion cracks in his mind. Yet the war turns on those photographs, the inflatable army's triumph etched in diverted divisions, Normandy's foothold secured. The ghosts fade into the marsh mist, their work done, whispers of deception echoing long after the treads fall silent.